Hello, my name is Michael Martin, and I'm continuing some YouTube videos here on uh, business research. And in this video, I'll be going over a journal article I reference in my research on employee retention. Uh, in this YouTube video, I'll be looking at what really explains the Great Resignation, a data-driven analysis. Today, I want to talk to you about want to walk you through a research study from the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia titled What Explains the Great Resignation? The paper addresses a simple question. Um, why did quitting surge to historic levels in 2021 and 2022? And more importantly, was it really a resignation crisis or something more complex? Let's begin with the headline numbers. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, specifically JOLTS data, um, the quit rate rose from approximately 2.3% in late 2020 to nearly 3% by late 2021. That is the highest level in over 20 years of data. But here is a key insight from the paper. Not all quits are the same. The author makes a critical analytical distinction. There are two fundamentally different types of quits. First, employer to employer transitions. That means someone quits one job to take another job. Second, quits to non-employment. That means someone leaves work entirely, often not actively searching for a job. The distinction changed the narrative. Quitting, but because quitting to take a better job is very different from exiting a labor force altogether. To investigate this properly, um, the author triangulates across three major databases. JOLTS, which provides a headline quit rate, LEHD, administrative data that tracks employer to employer transitions, and CPS, the current population survey, which allows researchers to observe where workers go after quitting. Each data set has limitations, but together they tell a more complete story. Here is the most important finding in the paper. Approximately three-quarters of the increase in overall quit rate was driven by quits to non-employment. Not job switching, not aggressive poaching, but workforce exits. That means the Great Resignation was not primarily about people chasing higher wages, it was about people stepping away from work. Now let's look at who quit. The increases were not evenly distributed. Quits rose disproportionately among younger workers, non-white workers, workers without a college degree, and women. And critically, for these groups, employer to employer moves did not rise significantly, which reinforces the supply side interpretation. This was not just a labor market churn, it was labor force withdrawal. What about industries? Yes, quits rose across nearly every sector: retail, leisure, hospitality, healthcare. But when adjusting for baseline quit rates, the increases were broad rather than isolated. Again, the who mattered than the where. Now, the paper evaluates three major explanations. First, rapid economic growth. In tight labor markets, employer to employer transitions usually increase, and we did see strong hiring. But here's the nuance: the share of hires coming from other employers was not unusually elevated. So, strong demand explains part of the story, but not the magnitude of quits to non employment. Second, telework. Did people quit to obtain remote work? The data suggests telework transitions account for only a modest share of employer to employer moves. There is some contribution, but it does not appear large enough to explain the surge. So remote work may be a factor, but it is not the primary driver. Third, wealth and savings. During the pandemic, household cash balances rose approximately 30%. Federal stimulus reduced consumption opportunities, liquidity accumulation. Lower income households saw significant increases in checking account balances. That creates a plausible supply side explanation. If workers have temporary financial cushions, they may be more willing to step away from work. However, the author cautions that the magnitude of quits appears larger than what typical wealth shocks would predict. So savings may help explain the timing, but perhaps not the full scale. So, what is the integrated conclusion? The Great Resignation reflects both demand side and supply side forces. Strong labor demand increased opportunities, but labor supply contraction amplified the effect. And this dynamic overlapped with accelerating wage growth and broader inflationary pressure during 2021 and 2022. From an independent scholar perspective, if you are an executive leader, a CFO, or a doctoral scholar studying retention, the key takeaway is this: you cannot analyze turnover as a single metric, you must disaggregate exits. Are employees leaving for competitors or are they leaving the workforce? Because those are fundamentally different strategic problems. One requires compensation and career design solutions, the other requires flexibility, childcare policy, cultural redesign, and possibly rethinking the structure of work itself. The Great Resignation was not simply a wage bidding war, it was in part a temporary reallocation of labor supply. And if we misdiagnose the cause, we will misdesign the solution. Thank you for joining me today. If you are researching employee retention, labor market dynamics, or executive strategy in post pandemic environments, subscribe to the channel. In the next episode, we will translate this research into actual retention strategy for organizational leaders. See you next time. Also, below in the description, I will share a reference to the journal article discussed. Thank you.